What's up? Good morning, everybody. How's it going? Happy Martin Luther King Day. Today's Monday, January 20th. Live here from the homestead, as you can see, the home studio. And we're going to check out, because it's Martin Luther King Day, and all the shit lips on my YouTube are up in arms over it being Donald Trump's inauguration day. You guys, pay attention to what matters. Come on. Get a hold of yourselves. So I'm going to play some Martin Luther King, play the I Have a Dream speech, because a lot of us have never heard or seen it in its entirety. You know, Martin Luther King was a big outspoken critic of neoliberal Democrats and everything that they brought, because he saw the uprise of them. He saw them come up from the South and knew that they never had any good intentions for he and his civil rights allies. No, they never did, and they still do not. Yet here we are falling into the old tricks again, and when we got somebody who's taking down the old establishment, and rather than celebrating along with Snoop Dogg and everyone who has noticed what's happening, everybody's so afraid again. But what I've noticed every time we get a big bad guy in the office is Americans start acting right again. They get out of brunch, they wake their ass up, and they stop going to brunch. Right now, the past 4 years, they're all at brunch and thought everything was cool and groovy and good. But we cause more war and more problems, more genocide across the whole world than ever before. And that always happens under the Democratic presidencies. So they use us back and forth. They play us back and forth, bad guy versus good guy, to make you think that they're the goodies. None of them are the goodies. They're all playing us. And who wins are the big corporations, the guys that you don't like, or that you like one day and then don't like the next. You know, your Elon Musk of the world, your Jeff Bezos, your Bill Gates. It was not long ago that everybody was crazy, thought Bill Gates was the best guy in the world. It was not long ago that all the shit lives in Tulsa really wanted Elon Musk to set up shop here. In fact, they put his face on the big statue, the Golden Driller statue in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and it wasn't. At that time, the Republicans didn't like him because they don't like electric cars. It was all the Subaru driving coexist sticker folks that can't seem to coexist with their uncles and cousins right now because their uncles and cousins voted for Trump. So coexist, you knuckleheads. Learn to coexist. Follow the advice of your Subaru bumper sticker. And we're going to go over to the other screen here and watch and listen and learn. Let's begin.
Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. I am happy to join with you today in what will go down in history as the greatest demonstration for freedom in the history of our nation. Five score years ago, a great American in whose symbolic shadow we stand today signed the Emancipation Proclamation. This momentous decree came
Always talk about Abraham Lincoln
as a great beacon light of hope to millions of Negro slaves who had been seared in the flames of withering injustice. It came as a joyous daybreak to end the long night of their captivity. But 100 years later, the Negro still is not free. 100 years later, the life of the Negro is still sadly crippled by the manacles of segregation and the chains of discrimination. 100 years later, the Negro lives on a lonely island of poverty.
And now we're looking at not 100 years later, but this was in the 60s. So now we're looking at 80 years beyond that, 180 years later, and one could say the same. In fact, what Kanye was trying to tell everybody is that the 13th Amendment also has the articles in it, also has the verbiage in it that legalize slavery, which is why the prison industrial complex is a complex. It's an industrial complex now. It's not just crime and punishment, but it's a full-on system. And when they realize how easy it was to arrest people if we made something like marijuana or the different, whatever things that people like. We take the things that people like, we make those things illegal. The things that they do that we don't do, make those things illegal. Then we can lock up people for another 100 years. And we can enslave them just as Kamala Harris, as she was DA over in California, she was the one who forced prison labor firefighters to stay carrying out their prison labor beyond their sentences. That happened.
I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men
God,
are
look at that.
created
There's a lot of people there. There was not that many people there for, I don't think, either Trump's first inauguration or Biden's. But there might be today. I haven't looked any at all. But it's probably pretty cold out there. But it wouldn't surprise me if there's that many people out there today. Things have changed. Like the Trump election, everything that happened in 2016 does not apply to the scenario today. And it'd be interesting to see Martin Luther King's take on it. You know, everybody makes him out to be a saint. Martin Luther King was no saint. He was a sinner just like old Donald Trump. He had his own problems and things and stuff that made him human.
I have a dream that one day on the red hills of Georgia, sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners will they be able to sit down together at the table of brotherhood. I have a dream.
So that's kind of happening. Like if you talk to country folk, and I'm talking about the youth, okay? I'm not talking about our grandpas. But if you talk to country folk, which I know a lot of you don't, but I witnessed at the FFA convention, like, the kids of the world, they're ignorant to all these things that we put upon them as to what it's like and what humans are like and what racism's like. Most of the kids are pretty oblivious to the ways things were 60 years ago or 50 years ago or 20 years ago. And to put that on them and say that they are this and that they are that is really unfair because they're making good headway at it. Now I know, and I will obviously recognize that it's not over. There's certainly no end to racism in America right now. But the methodology in which you address it matters a lot. And if you can talk about things objectively and openly, it helps. My whole generation got to do that, and I'm already recognizing that my kids never get to have these conversations in school and stuff. They don't get to talk openly about this stuff. Modern schools, particularly public schools, just don't talk about it. Don't talk about politics. Don't talk about racial issues. Don't talk about anything. And it's like, it seems like a real burying your head in the sand sort of approach in education these days. But like, you know.
That one day.
I mean, he's saying that we should get along, that we need to be able to talk. We need to be able to get along.
Even the state of Mississippi, a state sweltering with the heat of injustice, sweltering with the heat of oppression, will be transformed into an oasis of freedom and justice. I have a dream.
That was nice. And, you know, he's not far off. Hey, Mississippi, first state in the whole union that has eradicated homelessness. I don't know if you guys knew that, but pay attention. Mississippi is the only state. Look it up. Mississippi, lowest homeless population in the United States. Why? Because they adopted the Finnish model of solve the problem, ask questions later. Don't ask any questions, in fact. Housing first. How about that? You know, we could end homelessness for roughly $25 billion with a roughly $25 billion investment. The United States could end homelessness, but we've given close to $200 billion to the Ukraine over the past few years. Here we go.
My four little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today.
That's that big phrase. That's the content of the character.
I have a dream that one day, down in Alabama, with its vicious racists, with its governor having his lips dripping with the words of interposition and nullification. One day right there in Alabama, little black boys and black girls will be able to join hands with little white boys and white girls as sisters and brothers. I have a dream today.
It's happening, you know? And what's funny, though, is that if it happens if something like, say, a Donald Trump presidency brings them together and they're rejoicing over it, can you give credit where credit is due if that's what's happening? Because, like, we don't get to decide how it happens. But if it's happening and they're celebrating together and it's unifying them, is it not happening? You know. So
exalted, and every hill and mountain shall be made low, the rough places will be made plain, and the crooked places will be made straight, and the glory of the Lord shall be revealed, and all flesh shall see it together. This is our hope. This is the faith that I go back to the South with. With this faith, we will be able to hew out of the mountain of despair a stone of hope. With this faith, we will be able to transform the jangling discords of our nation into a beautiful symphony of brotherhood. With this faith, we will be able to work together, to pray together, to struggle together, to go to jail together, to stand up for freedom together, knowing that we will be free one day. This will be the day with all of God's children.
It's a little out of sync, but it's all happening, and you know there's a little bit of both, and the contradiction against this unification is true. There's that exists as well. But all I'm saying is, can't we give credit where credit is due when it's happening? If it's not the way we intended it, I just go. I'm a witness, you know. I just notice. I notice and I look and I pay attention to things. So if I see something happen and I'm saying, well, it's happening, but they're saying it's not happening the way we want to, like it's not, you know. So when I look at the youth and I think about the phrase "ignorance is bliss," I don't think about it always in a negative connotation as it's been put out there, because I think about all skateboarder friends and everybody, the young people I know that are into skateboarding. Like, they don't pay attention to any of this. Their ignorance is bliss. They're not concerned with the problems of prior generations. They live completely open, integrated, free, exactly the way in which Martin Luther King was speaking. Together, being themselves, doing the things they love, and not even occurring to them whether somebody's thinking this or that about them. But if you ask them who they would vote for, I guarantee you they wouldn't be about Biden or Harris. They're not into politics. They don't care. They don't pay attention. But they are into change. And if they see change happening, or if they see the establishment getting shook up, yeah, you know, liberals and progressives used to be all for that. Shake up the establishment, wreck it up. But they're all about like drinking the Kool-Aid now.
Be able to sing with new meaning, my country, 'tis of thee. Sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. Land where my fathers died, land of the pilgrim's pride. From every mountainside, let freedom ring. And if America is to be a great nation, this must become true. And so let freedom ring. From the prodigious hilltops of New Hampshire, let freedom ring. From the mighty mountains of New York, let freedom ring. From the heightening Alleghenies of Pennsylvania, let freedom ring. From the snow-capped Rockies of Colorado, let freedom ring. From the curvaceous slopes of California. But not only that, let freedom ring from Stone Mountain of Georgia. Let freedom ring from Lookout Mountain of Tennessee. Let freedom ring from every hill and molehill of Mississippi, from every mountainside. Let freedom ring, and when the capital, when we allow freedom ring, when we let it ring from every village and every hamlet, from every state and every city, we will be able to speed up that day when all of God's children, black men and white men, Jews and Gentiles, Protestants and Catholics, will be able to join hands and sing in the words of the old Negro spiritual, free at last, free at last, thank God Almighty, we are free at last.
Check this out.
That was it, man. Beautiful. So that's, you know, if you've never heard it before, that was the I Have a Dream speech. And yeah, that was the time when that's the memory of Martin Luther King that the Democrats, that the American government loves to remember. They hate to remember the one that spoke out about them. So we'll try and dig and find some other Martin Luther King speeches, but he was a big critic of the U.S. government and the Secret Service. In fact, that's who killed him. So, you know, believe his words, believe his lessons, understand that the United States, the America that we know now that celebrates Martin Luther King today, did not feel that way about him back then. They saw him as a communist, an anti-war, anti-patriotism rabble-rouser, and they eliminated him. And just as they did our very own president. So, the depths of their terrible deeds knows no end. And it happens both on the Republican side and the Democrat side. So they're playing us back and forth, and the best that we can hope for is how are we going to act when one or the other is in power? What are we going to do differently? And what I notice is when these bad guys are in power, they're all bad, but when the baddest baddies are in power, that they, you know, trump up to be the baddest baddies, is when Americans act the best and when we get the most done and when we do stuff that's right for our country. So if all we can hope for is better outcomes, then I guess the better outcomes come during the bad times. I don't know, but every shit-lib Democrat in my social media feed, they fall asleep the past 4 years. They weren't paying attention to anything, but now they're paying attention to everything. It's just that their angers and frustrations are very sorely misplaced on Carrie Underwood and Snoop Dogg and all this dumb culture stuff. You guys can't do this for the whole next 4 years. You got to move on and find some real proletariat, progressive, if there's any shred of progressivism left in Democrats. You guys have totally ruined those words, by the way. Liberal, leftist, progressive, socialism. You really screwed it up for everybody who really believed in those values, because now they mean nothing that they used to, that the words actually mean. If you look the dictionary definitions up, what that says in the dictionary and what you all represent are the opposite. So grow some balls, be mad, and then do something about it for real this time. Because you blew it 8 years ago when we told you Bernie was the one, and you wanted Hillary Clinton instead. Dummies. You blew it for everyone. So you either get on board with all of us that have been doing the legwork for the past 8 years and realize that Democrats aren't progressives, they aren't liberal, they aren't leftist, they aren't anti-war, they're not for peace. I'm not saying Republicans are. I'm saying the other 50% of us who have opted out of politics, who have opted out of believing in these lies anymore, we've been saying, come on, come on. But we've really actually been having to spend the last 40 years arguing with you on Facebook because you're just so blinded by the CNN bullshit that you believe from Rachel Maddow and whatnot. You idiots. They all work for the CIA. So get out from it. Free yourself from all this. Don't fall for Trump. Don't fall for Democrats. Or you're just going to find yourself having to vote for Kamala Harris or Gavin Newsom. I guarantee you, Democratic primary next time is going to be Kamala Harris, as if you don't remember what just happened. Gavin Newsom, as if you didn't remember what just happened in California. And somebody like Mayor Pete Buttigieg, who totally screwed the pooch these past 4 years on everything transportation related, which was his department. Free yourselves. Get out of this stupid mentality. Love each other. Learn to coexist. As the bumper sticker on your Subaru says, coexist with your family members and friends who think that there's a different way of achieving what you all want. That's what it is. They believe in a different way of achieving the same things that you want. In most cases, that's the scenario. But thanks for watching this short little live stream. We've been watching Martin Luther King. You're watching Nathan Gray video. And tomorrow or Wednesday, we will resume playing blues music, unless I can get it set up. If I can get it set up, play a little blues record this morning, might just do that. But I got to make some breakfast, do some stuff. Take it easy, y'all. Until next time, you've been watching 3 Points.